Now, an industrial revolution down at the waterfront, the port of Botany, today. Patrick was showing off its giant new robotics at work from Aussie technology, which it says makes it 30% more cost-effective than its competitors. Patrick is now owned by Asciano, which forked out between $500 and $600 million for the port upgrade. I spoke to Asciano Chief Executive John Mullen up in the crow's nest. John Mullen, it looks like the Lego movie there behind you. What does this technology do for Patrick?
It takes the waterfront from an old-fashioned manual combative environment to one of the most sophisticated robotic operations in the world.
And these enormous straddles, how do they work?
Well, the whole thing is managed by radar signals that map the entire area that you can see behind me. And every straddle is positioned exactly by its own little radar antenna that's picking up all of the key trigonometric points across the terminal, so it knows where it is to within a few millimetres. To our knowledge, this is the most sophisticated robotic terminal in the world now. The crane gangs is how we measure it in this industry. In the United States, there's still 20 to 30 people. A manual operation in Australia would be 9 to 10. We run with 4 people per crane.
And how does this compare to DP World and Hutchison, your competitors next door?
So we're probably at least 30% more cost efficient here, I think, than our immediate competition.
John, you spent $500 to $600 million doing this conversion. What do you hope will be your return on capital?
Well, we obviously don't publish that, but we've got some pretty stringent requirements by our board and our company.
Did you end up spending a lot more capital than you'd expected?
We did end up spending more. The automated straddles, which are extremely sophisticated technology, were shipped here from Europe, and the ship ran into a massive storm on the way down, and they all got damaged, some of them written off altogether, so we had to rebuild a whole lot of new ones and reship them. That delayed us about 9 months, but it's ended up absolutely excellent and where we wanted it to be.
And it worked from day one?
Well, that's the really, really good thing. I've seen lots of big infrastructure projects in my years in the industry, and to switch something on from manual to fully robotic overnight, and 4 days it took them from pressing the button to it running. So that's quite an achievement.
Industrial relations has obviously been a very sensitive issue, but you see this as a step change at this port.
There's no secret this was a very difficult site from a labour relations perspective, and very unproductive because of that. Now, we've still got a long way to go till we can claim that we're perfect, but the progress has been absolutely enormous, and we've got a very good workforce, dedicated, high-quality people here doing a very good job, and it's a pleasure to work with them.
Now, you had compulsory redundancies, not voluntary redundancies. How did you get it all through, given the union relationship?
Well, obviously, redundancies in any environment, in any industry, are not pleasant things. The people we're talking about, not numbers on a page or spreadsheets, so it's very difficult. But we approached it from the basis of merit, so every single person in this terminal is performance managed, the same as I am and my colleagues are. And to be fair, the union we've worked with them as well.
And you went through Fair Work Australia?
Oh yes, no, we've been in Fair Work more times than you can imagine.
And today, John, I see you've got a woman in charge.
The waterfront is not known for its gender diversity, and we have been working very hard on that as well. And so that's it's still unfinished business. We still have an unrepresentative female component of our workforce, but we're working very hard to improve that.
And you mentioned in the briefing about the importance of a decision like this in nation-building terms rather than thinking about quarterly returns for the company.
Ports like this they're business operations for us, but they're also gateways to trade and competitiveness for the country. So I think there's a huge onus on us, as well as governments and owners, to make these the most efficient operations you possibly can, and that's how we're going to compete as a nation, and that hasn't been the case in the past.
Now, we've got the Moorebank intermodal development, all those old Patrick boys. They're going to bring more competition rail side to Botany. Is the market big enough for all of you?
Oh, I think so. I mean, competition's good for all of us. We're actually running our first Botany shuttle is running today from just over there behind me. That's 2 years ahead of Moorebank even opening, so we're quite comfortable.
So you're ready for them?
We're ready for them, and we're doing it without any government subsidy either.
The Port of Melbourne, there's been a lot of concern over the 800% rent hike. How do you see that playing out now?
Well, look, it's work in progress. I think there is an enormous trade-off here for governments wanting to make a lot of money quickly. They can then use from selling an asset and used for other electoral purposes, as opposed to making a gateway competitive for the exporters and importers of that state. And if Victoria puts 800% rent increases through the port, that means $85 or something, a TEU surcharge for every poor grain exporter or anybody else trying to compete, or manufacturer. It's just going to make their lives almost impossible. We can see 25% at least of Melbourne's container trade being vulnerable to moving if Victoria doesn't remain competitive, which it is today. It's a great port today. It's a highly competitive, well-run port. We can stand increases, everybody can stand increases, but realistic increases. If those go through, it will be 5 times the price of operating in Sydney. Is Melbourne 5 times more attractive or efficient? I don't think so.
John Mullen, thank you very much for talking with me.
Thank you.